Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome everybody to Poised for Exit. We often hear that America must rebuild its manufacturing base, reshore, revitalize, reindustrialize, and prepare for a wave of retiring business owners. Our guest today is the co-founder and CEO whose firm has built specific technology that caters to the expansion of manufacturing in the United States. We're going to hear about her amazing quest to reshore and revitalize our manufacturing industry right after these messages.
I'm John Marquet, Certified Exit Planning Advisor with TrustPoint. We help business owners transition smoothly on their terms. Our focus is on maximizing value, minimizing stress, and giving you confidence in what's next. Whether you're selling or passing the torch, we make the process seamless. Start planning today at trustpointinc.com. That's trustpointinc.com.
Thinking about selling your business in the next few years? Don't wait to start planning. I've seen too many business owners wait too long and regret it. Freedom Financial Partners are financial advisors who specialize in exit planning for business owners, helping you reduce tax surprises, protect what you've built, and quantify how much you need from the sale. Their proven process helps you think beyond your business so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. The longer you wait, the fewer options you may have. Download your free financial readiness assessment today at ffpforme.com/exit. That's ffpforme.com/exit.
This is Andy Kosamba, president of Calhoun Companies. We understand that selling your business is a big deal. Since 1908, Calhoun Companies has been confidently connecting buyers and sellers. From small family shops to large corporations, our expert brokers walk with you and guide you every step of the way, whether you're looking to retire or simply for a fresh start. If you're curious what your business could sell for, or if you're ready to start the process, head to calhouncompanies.com for a free and confidential consultation. Calhoun Companies, the confident choice for buyers and sellers.
My name is Todd Crow, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today with Deepa Krishnamurthy, who is the co-founder and CEO of Nterprisers, building the home base for U.S. manufacturing, where private manufacturers become visible, connected, and investable. Deepa, welcome to Poised for Exit.
Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you could join us. I have so many questions, and I'm sure our listeners will too as they listen to this episode. I don't normally have founders of startups on the show. Because we're talking about exit planning, not startups, right? But you're starting with the exit in mind, obviously. But you have a mission to accomplish, and it's super impactful. Lots of people in the manufacturing sector listen to this show all over the country, and so I know that they're going to be very interested in hearing what you have to say. But before we get into all the wonderful questions and wisdom, I would like to have you just share with us what was it that led you to this path of getting into the manufacturing sector.
Sure. Actually, life's come full circle for me. I started my career in manufacturing, a cost accountant in a tractor plant, and then spent majority of my career in operating businesses and private businesses. So a lot of private markets, operating businesses, investment businesses. And the one thing I kept noticing over and over again, especially as it relates to manufacturing, given how critical it is for our economy, is that when people think manufacturing, they think big factories. Detroit comes to mind, U.S. Steel. That's the image that people have.
Yes.
But 99% of manufacturing is private businesses with less than 100 employees.
Exactly.
And so it kind of came full circle, starting off with manufacturing and then private businesses connecting the dots.
And so obviously that's why you chose manufacturing, because of your background. And you saw the need with the smaller companies. So, and you've got some impressive people on your team too. So how did you guys all come together to form this organization?
So my co-founder and I, we were business partners before in our operating and investment business, and again, a private business. And we saw a lot of, he also started his career in manufacturing, engineer at Boeing. And neither of us spent time in manufacturing other than our early careers. Then we saw a connection to our life as it relates to private businesses and operating businesses and the challenges of those and manufacturing. And that's how we came together. This was right after COVID, the focus on supply chain resilience, the focus on talking about manufacturing as a strategic necessity in our country. And that's how we decided to focus on it.
Yeah. Um, like I said before, it's super impactful, and it's just so unique, and it's so necessary and so needed, because it's just like, for any manufacturing firm to work with your firm, the ROI I would think would be almost instantaneous. So we'll talk about what that looks like in a little bit. But first, I wanted to quote a little bit of an essay that you wrote about the dilemma about manufacturing in the United States and what these companies are facing, these private companies that you work with, that I work with, that you've worked in. And obviously there's many dilemmas that they're facing, but one is that they've got so much of their intellectual property that resides in the heads of their key people, and decades of it, as you talked about in your essay. So you said across the country, thousands of small and mid-sized manufacturers continue to produce the parts beneath the parts. So true. Decades of tacit knowledge reside within these firms, and then of what cannot be easily replaced, as we just talked about. So tell us about Enterprises and how your company serves the manufacturing sector.
Yep. What really stood out for us, Julie, beyond the fact that, majority of the manufacturers are small and private businesses, is the fact that it's a relationship-driven business and how localized the sector is. And manufacturers still work through trusted networks, word of mouth, finding, I know a guy, and it's a
Yeah.
fragmented landscape they live in. So if you have an analogy of e-commerce today, we could not have e-commerce today if we didn't have postal routes and we didn't have roads. And manufacturing right now in our country operates in pre-infrastructure conditions. So you have a situation where there's a lot of local capability, a lot of tacit knowledge. It's essentially a people business. It's people with process knowledge, people with, when we think, startups, when you think about glitzy startups, you think about patents, but it's more than that. It's the learning by doing. That's what majority of manufacturing is. It's not just manufacturing at scale, which has gone overseas. What remains here is that doing and that tacit knowledge, and it comes down to people. And people are people that have a pride, have legacy, have, emotions attached to it. So ultimately, understanding manufacturing is also about understanding the psychology of the person, the owners, and the people. And the way we've structured Enterprisers is to kind of meet the market where it is, understand that it's not just a physical business, but it's a people business. People dealing with people, and people dealing with their legacies, people dealing with their processes and their privacy.
And it's so multifaceted too. Yeah, I mean, let's take a deeper dive. I'd like to learn more. I'd like to have our listeners learn more about what your organization is actually doing for these firms. Like, how could they get involved? How do they get involved? What are the benefits? What are the levels of involvement? Because I know that there are levels as well.
Well, let's start with the manufacturers. The
Sure.
one thing we talked about is the fact that we believe that manufacturers are somewhat invisible in this ecosystem, right? It's because it's a relationship-driven, highly localized sector. The information that's out there is very fragmented. Either there's directories that are incomplete, there's data vendors, and it's really a word of mouth. It's very hard to find somebody outside your immediate network. And then when you layer operational capabilities and relationships on top of that, in order to truly understand, it's very hard to answer basic questions. Who are they? Where are they? And how do you reliably connect with them? For me, those are key fundamental issues. Kind of going back to e-commerce, the postal routes and the roads, what we're doing is laying that connective infrastructure of finding who they are, finding what they do, and connecting with them reliably. But it's a little more than that. Because these are private businesses, we also want to make sure that privacy is important to them. So we want to give them visibility without exposure. So we're trying to kind of marry the two things, kind of create the connection and visibility, but also give them that visibility without the glare or the exposure. So it's on their terms, so they can choose to engage without being exposed.
So if I were, say, for instance, I'm a manufacturing firm, I would love to engage. I think this makes a lot of sense for me and my business, but my fear might be that a competitor might view my profile and see, some things that I maybe wouldn't want them to see. Is it possible to be selective in terms of the exposure, like you're talking about with visibility or not?
Yeah, so what we've done is created structured visibility for these manufacturers. So
Sure.
what we've structured is what's already available. We've taken what they've
Okay.
already said to the world and organized it in a way that's searchable and
Okay.
discoverable, but respects their privacy. And
Yeah.
then if there's things that they want to not share, they can choose not to. On day one, we're sharing what they have made available, but made it in a way that's easy to find, and then they can be connected with, and then they can choose to decide that I don't want to show something or want to show something, I want to reveal something. And also signal, right? Signaling is a big thing because nobody wants to put up their hands and say I'm up for sale or I'm up for a merger. That's not something that's done in this world, and there's a huge friction to go engage in that market to go make that happen. So our
Yes.
connection tool is also a signaling tool. So they have
Mm.
the ability to control the information and also ability to control communication. So
Wow.
it's discovery and searchability while still respecting the owner's privacy.
So I have a question about that then. With
Mhm,
regard to the making the connections and being a resource, I imagine
mhm,
that you have pretty good relationships with trade associations that cater to that industry,
mhm,
right, across the
mhm.
country. And so you must be a very strong resource for them, I would imagine.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And we see all of these associations, they're doing amazing work, whether it's the MEP system, trade associations, chambers of commerce,
Yeah.
community banks. I mean, they all are important players in the local ecosystem, right? These are all trustworthy organizations that people gravitate towards. And our goal is to make sure that the other thing I wanted to mention was these profiles we talked about. We feature every manufacturer in the region. It doesn't matter whether you're a two-person business or you're a 200-person business, as long as you're making something in this market, we have you pre-profiled with information that's already there. So it makes discovery easier, connection easier. And the idea is to go build the relationships in the real world beyond sort of your limited private network, right? So the idea is to expand your ability to network in the real world using these
Mhm.
associations, but doing it in a manner that you understand the entire ecosystem. It's not just pay to play. We democratize the presence, we democratize search so that
Yes.
everybody has an equal chance of being found.
And in my experience, I've worked with a lot of different companies over the years, many of them manufacturing. And if there's one thing
Mhm,
I know about many manufacturing firms, not all, but many, they tend to be very operationally driven,
mhm,
and not sales organizations, right? And
mhm.
so they don't
Yeah,
grow very fast. They don't generally have a very good marketing strategy or one that's even implemented, right? And to your point about being more locally based in terms of their connections and things like that, or regional, right? Local or regional, having a reach that brings them to other markets and other opportunities and expansion that way is not anything that they even have the skill set or the manpower to do. And so it would seem to me that you guys would make a great partner, not only for manufacturing firms who need that kind of expansion and are seeking it, right? And need a partner out there to help them do it, but also for those organizations that I mentioned that cater to that industry. And they're always looking for ways, how can we be a better catalyst for the growth of our
yeah,
members? And what else can we do to help them, right? To reshore, to,
yeah.
expand their supply chain network and things like that. So would it be possible for you, Deepa, to share a story perhaps of a user, a current user, like maybe where they were and the work that you did for them and what it did for them, how it
Yeah.
impacted?
I mean, there are several things, right? I just want to, before I get to the story, I just want to just anchor into something that you just said about this visibility. By creating this ability to be searched, one of our manufacturers who actually claimed their profile, so there's no cost for the manufacturers to come on and claim their profile. You brought up marketing, which is such an important point, Julie. The marketing is not just for growth. The marketing is also for talent. If people,
Yes.
if they're not able to attract younger talent to even know what they are about, it's going to be hard for them. And
Yeah.
talent has a potential dotted line to succession and exit as well, because the talent that you hire might be the one that's going to help you successfully transition your business, right? So there's a lot of angles here from a marketing. So what this essentially also serves our platform where you're showcased is serves as free marketing for these companies. And so one of the manufacturers called it a virtual perpetual trade show or always on trade show, right? So
Love
you
it.
look at it.
Yeah.
Um,
Proactive recruiting, right?
yeah, yeah. It could be
Yeah.
recruiting talent and growth. So to your point about interesting stories, there are a couple of interesting stories. There's a large OEM, aerospace OEM that's out here, original equipment manufacturer out here in Rhode Island. And when we were still in beta, they were looking for a particular capability. They said, a particular milling capability of a certain tolerance that they needed. And they said, we only have it out in the Midwest. I don't think it's even here locally. And we said, why don't you just give it a try and see what you find? And they ended up finding 4 options on our platform. And they told us that one of the machine shops was awarded $1 million job to maintain privacy. They did not tell us who it was, but that was an aha moment for us. And there's other cases where somebody, a small manufacturer that makes wooden implements for knitting shops and yarn shops, their box manufacturer changed their minimum order quantity. So they wanted somebody locally and ended up finding somebody right, down the street. This just are examples of sourcing locally, right? That's just one use case. But then there are other use cases where there is pure discovery, understanding like, oh, I had no idea that this person was doing plating. Oh, I had no idea that they had gotten into that. Maybe I could use them to go do this full service so I can go bid on a larger contract. There's ways in which this visibility, like I said, visibility without the glare, just opens up insights that are not otherwise obvious because you're looking where the light is, but this kind of sheds the light on the whole ecosystem and kind of unearths insights from the gaps that you probably would not notice when you're just looking at something more discreetly. So you have more serendipity happening, right? So because it's hard to set yourself up for serendipity because you have to go to these places and network and you end up going and meeting the same people but here it allows
Yeah.
for luck to play a chance, right? So you go, oh, I had no idea they did that. So next time I meet them in person, I reach out to them. There's a way to unlock the value of serendipity at a scale that was not possible before.
Yeah, it just covers so many bases for sure. We talked earlier before we started the show with the sectors of defense, energy, critical supply chains, things like that. We're always hearing about we need to know who knows how to do what, right? And gal, it just resonated with me so much when I read that because those are the kinds of conversations I have with my clients on a regular basis. And, some of them were helping them to map out and decide AI applications that can make a difference for their efficiency and things like that. But still, it boils down to the people and being ready, right? Before there's another disruption.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. A disruption before another disruption. And then again, people always talk about, oh, we need to understand who there is. But for me, who there is just the part of the mapping, right? Going back to the postal route analogy, you also need to connect with them because not just knowing who they are and what they do is ability to reliably connect. And only when the connection happens, stuff unlocks, right? So I think that whether it's opportunity, growth, exit, workforce, all of those things unlock when it's not just the visibility, but the connection. So we believe those are the 2 important pieces to connect. And going back to defense, it's not just, to me, I always say mapping is not integration. For us, it's these are small business owners that their entire life is spent on the shop floor from 8 a.m. in the morning and they're thinking about it at night. They don't have time to go engage with the whole ecosystem in 50 different places, right? So we always say that we bring the party to the owners. So the idea is not just visibility, but it's a connection with the entire ecosystem of important stakeholders, right? That you care about from a B2B perspective. It could be banks, it could be exit planners, it could be efficiency specialists, engineering, quality control. Whatever those things are, everybody's welcome to connect locally so you have those connections. And then you spend the networking at these industry associations and these conferences where you are very strategic about in real life, relationship building.
I love it. So you really are a broad-based expansion partner because you're not just a one-trick pony, right? There's so many ways that you can provide value. I love the proactive recruiting aspect too, because that also the workforce, of course, as you touched on earlier, is such an issue for this industry. So I know that you're not that you guys have been in business for a while. So when I said startup, it's You are, but you're not, right? So you've expanded in a lot of different states. You've got client case studies, you've got stories that you could share. So tell us about where your operation is located, where you've expanded to, and what the future holds for enterprises.
Sure. We started in Rhode Island and, smallest state, home state. So that's where we started. And it's
Mhm.
got a lot of, we're sort of big leaders in the blue economy, despite our size. We're sort of the center of the blue economy, the ocean
Mhm.
cluster, and we're expanding. We just launched in Massachusetts in late January. And our
Congratulations.
next up are New York and then Connecticut, rest of the Northeast as we roll out the rest of this year, and then we go Midwest and go out, go out south and west is kind of the idea. That Mid-Atlantic down the eastern seaboard and go out Midwest into the West. So to cover the nation is the plan. And we're doing a couple of things. Even if you're an out-of-state manufacturer, you're welcome to come on and register at no cost. So at least you understand and be part of the ecosystem. You can discover what's going on here. And then
Yes.
when you get to your market, you're welcome to come claim your profile if you're a manufacturer. But if you're an out-of-state service provider, or an out-of-state customer, we call them, we have the owners in the middle and we have three stakeholders: people who sell to them, people who serve them, or people who buy from them, right? So that's the ecosystem. You're welcome to come on if you are doing any business with manufacturers in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. It's sort of an all are welcome, but the idea is it makes sense to have hyper local focus because community building happens locally and then
Mhm.
scale happens nationally and regionally and globally.
And I know you're making inroads in the Midwest for sure, because that's how we met. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's super exciting for me, especially for my listeners that are in that area. But I have listeners all over the country. So I'm sure that everyone listening who's in this sector is going, oh, this is great. I want to learn more. So funny you might ask that, right, Mr. and Miss Listener? We have a webinar coming up, don't we? You have a webinar coming up at the end of the month. So tell us about that.
Yes, it's on March 25th, and it's from at 10 a.m. to 10:45 Eastern time, Eastern Daylight Time.
Hmm.
And it's an informational webinar, which we do. People can go online to enterprisers.com and register for the webinar. And the idea is to ensure that people learn about what we are. And, it's amazing as people engage, they've come up with ideas for us of features that they would like that are meaningful to them, right? So we're listening. So our idea is not to go build something and then have them fit their foot to our shoe, but to design the
Yes.
shoe with them, So that's
Yeah.
sort of something that we've done. And we welcome people's ideas and inputs and, of course, engagement.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely put that information in the show notes. As everyone knows, they can rely on that for events and things like that. And it sounds like a great webinar. It's going to explain everything that we basically talked about and then some. One more question I have for you, Deepa. As you know, this is kind of an exit planning show. It's not all exit planning related, but it also is related to businesses that are trying to grow and scale and at some point exit. And we have to make sure that we make good decisions along the way, right? In order to get to that favorable outcome. So tell me about the experiences that you've had with the companies or however you'd like to frame it. But we know that sometimes in the manufacturing sector, exit planning can be kind of a challenge.
Yep. I would say two things. I would say visibility matters more than ever. We live in a world where people are seeking information. And then if you're not visible with the right sort of guardrails, I respect people's privacy. So it's important to have the right guardrails. But if there's no visibility, then it's very hard to be found. And if you cannot be found, it's very hard to be connected with, and therefore outcomes don't happen.
Yeah.
So that's sort of number one, the importance of visibility and therefore the connections, right? The visibility allows for connections to happen that would otherwise not happen. So the idea is, something like enterprises for manufacturers, we structure visibility. I know exit focus is broad beyond manufacturing, but especially in manufacturing, the more you're visible about what's special about you as a business,
Yeah.
your capabilities, your strengths, I think that's important to be able to monetize so people have the perception of what your true business worth value is, as in intangible value. And then the other piece is workforce, like we said, whether it's the next hire, the next successor to your business, especially for family businesses. I think we don't need to wait till the day of to start planning for exit. To me, the exit planning is a continuum. And the sooner somebody starts to create that responsible visibility and responsible sort of connection, that allows for those options to unfold, whatever that might be. It might be a supplier, it might be the future CEO, it might be the future, growth partner, the future M&A. Like who knows what that might be. But I think being proactive about visibility, being proactive about those connections, and starting sooner than you think you need to, I think would be
Yes.
important to get on this path to a potential, a fruitful exit, because ultimately it's about emotion. Legacy is very much tied into, sometimes people's personalities and business are the same, and the sooner they can decouple those without feeling that, in a way that the business stands on its own, the greater the chance that the exit would be a successful one.
Yes. Boy, I could underline that for sure. Yeah, and to your point about visibility, you can't expect to attract the ideal buyer or the ideal employee or the ideal successor if you're the best kept secret in town. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it sounds
Yeah.
like you've got the perfect recipe for, like you said, guardrails plus visibility. So loved having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, Deepa.
Thank you so much, Julie. And for those of you, I have ordered Poised for Exit. I just started your book. And I think that I highly encourage people to read what you've written, Julie, because I think it's important. It's a process. Exit is not an event, it's a process. And so, the focus should be on the process. And I think that's what you set them up to do. And it's a shout out to the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, we can always collaborate in the future, of course, right? So loved having you on the show. We'll have to have you back. And like I said, we will put your contact information and your webinar information in the show notes. And we'll probably plug it on LinkedIn as well, too, because we want to make sure we can get as many people there as possible. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Julie. It was lovely talking to you. Thanks for the
Absolutely. Thanks to our listeners as well for joining us. Please join us again next time and do share this episode. Talk soon.